And welcome back, everybody, to this another edition of the Mass Steel Podcast here with me, Charles Pride Ritchie, as we are on June 10th right now, just a few days away from minicamp at this point in time. A lot of stuff to get into today. Just give you an update on some stuff. As always, I am Charles Pride Ritchie. As you catch me on the Mass Steel Podcast during and throughout this off season, of course, regular season, catch me every Mondays and Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Keeping it here live as we're got some more stuff trending right now. Happy shout out to one former Steeler, which I'll get into momentarily. But remember, if you want, feel free to catch me live here. Again, it is 6:30 p.m. Central Standard Time, Mondays and Wednesdays. I stream out of on Facebook Live, Instagram, and YouTube Live. You can search for my Facebook page, Men of Steel Podcast, at Men of Steel Nation, or just Men of Steel Podcast. Of course, you can catch me on Instagram, all lowercase, Men of Steel Nation. And, of course, my YouTube channel, Men of Steel Podcast, as we got a lot to get into right now. As I just mentioned a moment ago, we are keeping it real here on this very lovely Monday evening, I should say. Got a lot of stuff going on tonight, as there's going to be outside Steelers football. Game number 5 of the NBA Finals. Toronto Raptors 1 win away from possibly finishing off and vanquishing the Golden State Warriors for this season. We'll find out. A lot of stuff to get into. Plus, we are going to be having a 7th and decisive game coming up in the Stanley Cup Finals. That's going to be a little bit of an exciting one as we take a look as the Blues lost in heartbreaking fashion yesterday to the Bruins, who had a chance to wrap it up last evening. The Blues did, but instead they'll be going to the TD Garden on Wednesday. Puck drop at 7 p.m. in Boston, as they will look to, at that point in time, as we take a look at them, will look to capture their 13th championship overall in the city of Boston since Tom Brady did it since 2001. What a ride it's been. Unbelievable what a guy like Brady has, not only like someone like the Patriots, but the city of Boston. But that's neither here nor there. But, of course, there's always got you covered on the Men of Steel Podcast, like I just said. If you want to follow me on Twitter, I'd be followed at Prides Ritchie. You can also hit me up on the studio number, which is 312-209-2232. Again, that number to be reached is 312-209-2232. And as I always usually say for all my podcasts, don't be trolling. Don't be trolling, be rolling. And definitely got a lot of stuff, as I just mentioned a moment ago, as we look at it. And one of the things we're going to begin with right now, as I just mentioned, opening drive. And right now, one of the hot button topics going into this season is going to be Stephon Tuitt, who is entering year number 2 of his contract he signed back with the Steelers in 2017. Before the season started, it was the day before the start of the regular season. And just to recap, he signed a 5-year, $60 million contract extension back then. That was back on September 9th, day before the regular season, which was reported by Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk. And right now, this year, the cap number for the Steelers that they're going to be charged with is $13.6 million, which ranks behind the 2 captains of the team, which, of course, Doug Rosberg, who's at the cream of the top, number 1 paid guy. And then number 2, defensive tackle, Cam Hayward. So one of the things that's been a little bit questioned about Stephon Tuitt, and let's go back in time and look at his career overall and recap everything. Like I was telling a friend of mine yesterday, I still never forget when he actually came in and he replaced eventually Brett Keisel, as I used to call him Big Day Cool Keisel, in my opinion. I was watching this stud And when he got drafted, remember, he got drafted in the 2014 NFL draft that year. That was an exciting draft, I remember, too. That was like pretty much in honor also, too, of 4 years ago when they turned the franchise around when you had guys like Chuck Noll come in onto the scene from the New York Jets, who's defensive core there for no, excuse me, not the Jets. I mean the Colts, Baltimore Colts. Excuse me. He was defensive coordinator for Don Shula. He came in there, of course, made the game-changing draft, which was at that point in time Mean Joe Green. And you look at all the things the Steelers did in that year. I mean, of course, the steal that draft, of course, was their number one, was their first draft pick in that year, which was Ryan Shazier. As we took a look at that year in the 2014 NFL draft, Stephon Tuitt was selected in the second round pick, number 46 overall, defensive end. He came out of the University of Notre Dame. And I definitely feel like he's definitely does good stuff. The only concern with this guy was Stephon Tuitt. One of the biggest knocks, as a lot of people have been watching this guy throughout his career, we have not seen him get any accolades that he's yet to earn yet, which was, of course, one of them not making a Pro Bowl selection just yet or getting named All-Pro or any type of title he could just add to his resume. I think that was just one of the biggest things that stood out right there. But as we took a look at everything in his career, and one of the quotes that was made by, like I said earlier, the defensive captain, Cam Hayward, he was quoted saying, everybody goes at their own pace in this. As he was telling Joe Rudder of the Tribune Review, it's about being healthy when the season starts. As he continues to progress and work, he's going to be a heck of a player. And I definitely feel like he could still be that. I think the only question was when you looked at a guy like Stephon Tuitt, because don't get me wrong, I still love this guy. I still love watching him come off this edge, making his presence like on the tackles when you really look at it. And you look at where he was, like, say, last year and everything, like what he's been able to contribute to this team. I mean, just the only frustrating thing with him was he hasn't started in a full 16-game season just yet. And I warrant that's got to be like one of the biggest knocks when you look at this guy. Remember, he had definitely some injuries along the way, Stephon, of course, as everyone will not forget as we look at where he was ending up. Because remember, after he signed that money extension back in 2017, as I just recapped, remember, he suffered an injury on the second play with only one tackle, and this was against the Cleveland Browns. It appeared they tore these. They eventually confirmed they tore his biceps, and he had to miss like 2 consecutive weeks as a result of that. And then also he suffered a back injury along the way in weeks 7 through 8, and he was able at that point in time. Stephon Tuitt, when you looked at it, it was able to produce in that year. I mean, when you look at, I mean, he had like 3 sacks, but overall too, he had a season high in 2017 of 5 combined tackles against the Cleveland Browns in that finale, which ironically was the same team who he got himself injured to start off that year. Let's not forget. And I think Tuitt, I think he's definitely held some good ground so far. I think there's just still a little bit more just since signing the deal. It's just obviously just more about staying healthy, which I could definitely see a lot of concerns going into this. But I think Stephon Tuitt, I think he's still got like a good potential to be a big force on this team. I mean, when you look at everything, I mean, his career high in sacks overall in his career was in his second year, which he was a full-time starter. He only started for 14 games. That was the 2015 season where they made the wild card. and he was second on the team in that category with 6.5 sacks. And then, of course, in that, he was third also in quarterback hits with 12. But I mean, I think also last year, I mean, he didn't have a bad year at all. He has second best combined tackles with 45. And then also his second best tackles for loss was 7. So, I mean, the tackles for loss have been definitely pretty solid. I mean, he's averaging like around like top 5, if you really think about it. And definitely done some good wonders for this team. Just like I said, it's all going to boil down to what his health looks like coming up in the years to come. Especially now he's going to year number 2 of that 5-year extension that he has signed. I definitely feel like that's got to be like an eye-opener for a lot of fans going into the season, especially when you're trying to focus on consistency. And not only that, you're also, too, I think at that point in time, you're pretty much going in the direction of the defense. I mean, at this point, let's face it. Let's call it what it is. It's moving on pretty much from the offense. I mean, there's going to be a lot of guys hands on deck trying to get that thing right. But I definitely feel right now they definitely got to like figure out some strides. It's like they're almost going back to that. And right now, it's definitely going to be a fun season to watch. So, with that note being on the first part of the opening drive, they expect him to become a better finisher. And also, too, I'm going to recap. Let's just move on. Let's stay on the defense. As I was looking at last week, Artie Burns, he's another guy who's going to be a question mark on this team. Trying to earn $1 million on this team, and he's trying to pretty much fight for survival on this team. And I asked, as a matter of fact, last week, I think it was last Wednesday, I want to say, had Brian DiArlo of 247 Sports to actually join me on this podcast when we looked at it. And at that point in time, the Steelers at that point, right now, you had a guy in, like I said, Artie Burns, first round draft pick, one of the Steelers' first picks in that first round. It was our opening pick, I should say, when it was their turn. Trying to fight for an $800,000 bonus right now at this point in time, a roster bonus. And there's questions if he's going to be sticking around at this point in time. There was a lot of concerns, from the team itself that he may have lost his confidence. And Artie Burns, when you look at overall his career, he definitely had, when you really look at it, he had a solid first 2 years. More so his rookie year, I thought was like a splash year for them. He was second on the team in their interceptions with 3, 4th in their reception yards, second on the team in pass deflections, which he later followed up a year later where he was number 1 in that category with 13. But sticking to his rookie year, he really did have a good year. Well, thought the future was bright for a guy like him, especially in one of the games I was at, too, in that 2016 season. Week number 2, their home opener at that point in time was against the Bengals. And I definitely feel right now that he's a guy right now who's pretty much in the doghouse in most fans. At this point in time, especially, like I said, a little bit concerned with his coaches, but Brian DiArlo maintained that, you know what, they're going to try and look out for the personal side of a guy like Artie Burns. And the Steelers trying to do stuff with a first-class organization mentality, and which I still applaud him for. But you got to be realistic, too. You got to start to think, is he going to be really the guy that's going to be cutting the mustard for this team? And you look at a guy like Justin Lane, is he going to put pressure on this guy as we take a look at it? I mean, is he going to be one of the guys that possibly pressures this kid? Remember, this is a guy who wanted to be a part of the Browns organization, who grew up a Browns fan, both him and his dad. And Justin Lane, he's still one of the guys that can be one of the steals in this draft. I mean, don't forget, he was the third overall pick by the Steelers in this draft after Deontay Johnson. So that's one of the things that you had to watch out for, and what you really looked out for. Ari Burns, I still believe he could be something special. He could still be somewhat of a contributor at this point in time. He's still in his rookie contract, let's not forget. Remember, he could still, and that's all. I really feel like right now it's a make it or prove it type of year for him. I mean, he's definitely in a situation right now where he has to be a little bit more playing with a chip on his shoulder right now, especially just trying to see if he could survive like mini camp. I mean, the clock is ticking in my eyes. I mean, when you look at this, I mean, either way it goes at this point in time, I think you have to think right now. I mean, he's got to put all the line. He's got to show. I think you got to look at more confidence in this young lad right now. A guy like Ari Burns, and Ari Burns right now, this year, he's already 24 years old. A year away from his mid-20s, turning 25. That'll be next year. So I want to hear your thoughts, your comments, your concerns right now. Ari Burns, just to follow up from last week's show, do you believe that Ari Burns will survive minicamp and he'll get his bonus on his team as we take a look at it? And will he be the guy that finds ways to survive at this point? What do you guys think? I want to hear from you guys. Feel free to tweet me on Twitter. Like I said, it's not going to be followed at Pride Richie. You could also dial me up on the studio line. That number that we reached is 312-209-2232. Again, that number is 312-209-2232. You can also check me on Facebook Live, you see right now. Of course, Instagram and YouTube Live as well, as I'm streaming live off those platforms. Remember, the YouTube channel to find is Men of Steel Podcast. And of course, my Instagram page for the Men of Steel Podcast, that is Men of Steel Nation. And like I said, at this point in time, he's due an $800,000 bonus by the end of this week, pretty much. And if they were to cut him after June 1st deadline, I mean, they'll have the cap savings of around almost rounded up to $1.8 million right now they'd be saving. And that's one of the things to keep in mind. And that's where I think he's definitely feeling a little bit of heat, no pun intended. But I think he's definitely being put under a microscope. And when you're trying to turn around a disastrous season, a finish to the season like you had last year, in the eyes of many fans and people in the organization, especially, I think you definitely have to look at pulling out all stops. I really feel. I mean, this is something you don't want to turn the blind eye on. You want to definitely show that you could, not let this thing spin out of control. But, and I am a believer in second chances. The only thing is, do you really think that this is going to be the stable guy in the long haul at this point in time? So let's get into some other topics here on that. So I'm going to probably say right now, with Ari Burns, I'm going to say he'll somehow find a way to make it. I don't think money is too much of the issue. But, I mean, you got to look at it this way. When you look at what you're trying to make room for or see if you can put him in another role, I just don't know if I want to shoot myself in the foot with Steph on this team. That's just my concern. I still think he's got some stuff he could bounce back. It's just a matter of confidence. I think he can still do it. And I still think he could be a man playing with vendetta, in my opinion. I just don't see the book being necessarily closed. I think he's be given a chance at going through like the preseason. I think if anything, we'll get like a clearer idea like once the finale of the preseason happens. Once we find out who's going to be making the official 53-man roster at that point in time, that will be able to be the most telling sign at that point in time. We'll know a lot more answers if you want to think about it. And that would be like the thing I would say when we're looking at it at this point in time, as we really think about it. And that's all I can really say about that. I just think you gotta be just show a little more patience, a little bit more. Hey, I mean, trust. I think more than anything, and he's got to pull that trust into them. I mean, no doubt about it. I mean, he's definitely kind of backed himself into a corner with where he's been at. So, and I look at the overall, like I said, the production from him. I think just definitely where he just really just kind of seemed to skid off was more particularly last season. Not so much 2017, even though that was a sign. But one of the biggest things that they're looking for this year too, they don't want to play around with, especially with secondary or safety, great turnovers. He has to create interceptions. Next up on the opening drive, let's take a look at this real quick here. As we look right now, I want to say happy shout out and retirement to former left and right outside linebacker Arthur Moats. Arthur Moats, if everyone may recall, he played for the Steelers for 4 seasons, 2014 through 2017. I think he was definitely one of my most favorite Steelers in recent past. And nice enough to see a guy like Devin Bush get the number 55. A lot of people think more Joey Porter, which I will, but 55, Arthur Moats was all that bad. And I would like to hear some of your comments real quick on a guy like Arthur Moats. What were some of your favorite memories on a guy like him? I mean, what he did overall in his career, I mean, with the Steelers. I mean, at least could say that when he was with the Steelers every year, they were in the playoffs. And I definitely feel like he did a good job help making the transition of that defense at a time when you needed more sacks to be produced. I definitely feel like he was one of the guys who was like added a ton of depth, a ton of excitement, played with a lot of moxie, and also just more importantly, he was just a guy who really loved being around his teammates, in my opinion. And I just feel right now, I mean, a guy like Arthur Moats, who's did a lot of decent. And remember, in 2017, I know he got a little bit reduced down to special teams at that point in time. But, I mean, he was still, at that point, when you think about it, Arthur Moats, I mean, who was playing that year, I mean, the numbers were still pretty solid. I mean, what do you think about it? I mean, yeah, I mean, the tackles are going to go down, but shoot, I mean, even those 3 years before that, I mean, he definitely had a lot of good QB hits, sacks, decent, and you know what? He was a consistent guy, in my opinion. They've been hurt at times, and maybe not so much available at times, but I definitely liked a guy like Arthur Moats. And I just felt he was a key contributor. Oh, people are looking at me a little nuts for saying that, but I definitely feel like he was a nice, big contributor at the end of the day, no matter what people say. All right. So, like I said, he played 8 seasons altogether. He's retiring. And remember, he was supposed to go play for the Cardinals last year when he signed a 1-year contract. He was placed on injury reserve pretty much at the conclusion of the preseason. And then he was released in October of 2018. So he officially announced his retirement today via Instagram and Twitter at this point in time. And I just want to say, Arthur Moats, I just want to say thank you very much for your contributions, and it was a pleasure having you for those 4 years. And I just want to wish you better luck and peace and happiness as you earn this right at this moment in time. So I hope things go well. I hope you find a lot of comfort and joy, a lot of benefits, and get taken care of real good. Definitely feel like you were a guy who I definitely enjoyed watching on the defense, make his presence felt. All right, now let's get ready to go into the wrap things up here. Fair or foul? And to begin, former offensive tackle Ryan Harris, Super Bowl champion from the Denver Broncos, he claimed that Mike Tomlin was the best leader he ever had in his career. End quote. He was the best leader I ever had as a head coach. It was the most competitive team locker room I played in. Tomlin had unbelievable talent at every position and created a competitive mentality in every player. Fair or foul right now, despite all the criticism that Mike Tomlin has received over the years. I know a lot of people always point to, well, he couldn't win over mediocre teams. You have it looks like Ben Roethlisberger's calling the shots a lot of times, or he's like calling guys on his radio show. But fair or foul, Mike Tomlin was a good leader for the Steelers. I'm going to say fair. I mean, of course, when you look at it, not just because of record, but I do believe he works with his guys closely. I don't believe he's one guy who necessarily calls people out, but he ain't scared to put his foot down and have a high expectation for guys on his lineup. I remember a story from a guy like Stephen A. Smith on First Take, who actually remember this about Mike Tomlin. They said he remember one time after the Steelers, I believe, dropped to 0-4 at this point in time. This was in the 2013 season, where they almost made the playoffs at 8-8, and would have been one of the first teams to make it in there like that after starting off 0-4. I just really had a phenomenal finish, despite coming up shorthanded. He was saying that he remember looking like after they lost to the Vikings in London, he was standing off to the side and watch every guy walk off the field and kind of like just getting ready to get in their face, just want to see who was like in this thing, like trying to get a feel of everybody's pulse on this team. And I definitely feel like that's right there as a guy who never went. He wasn't afraid to go down with the ship, but he didn't let the ship sink. Ship, I should say, excuse me. And yeah, I definitely feel like he's definitely a guy right now. I would have to say fair. What say you, people watching out their show nation? What do you guys think, ladies and gentlemen? Do you feel like he was one of the best leaders we probably seen in recent memory? Do you agree with Ryan Harris? Fair or foul? Fair if you like it, foul if you disagree. Next topic, as we got in fair or foul. Jordan Dangerfield will make the team as the number 3 safety behind Sean Davis and Terrell Evans. This is a guy, remember, who went undrafted in his overall football career. Remember, he was an undrafted free agent by the Buffalo Bills, and he eventually came over to the Steelers a year later. Jordan Dangerfield right now, who is still trying to find a spot. And one of the things I like about his attitude at this point in time, who's definitely, when you look at it, he came out of the college of Towson in Royal Palm Beach, Florida. His attitude, for this team, well, when you look at it, overall, he said, never get comfortable. There's always somebody in life trying to take your spot. You've got to come out and prove it every day. And like I said, he's trying to carve a spot in the Steelers' secondary as number 3 safety behind stars Sean Davis and Terrell Evans. Jordan Dangerfield, I'm going to probably give him a break. I think he'll probably will get the nod as far as making the team, only because he has been around a few times. But still, being released that many times in your football career, I don't care who you are. Don't get me wrong, he's got a lot of street smarts when being with the Steelers, knowing what to expect from the defense. And I won't be surprised if he does end up making this team. I just feel like right now, like who you can really push to challenge this guy at this point in time. That's all. But I do feel right now, Steelers, they're definitely going to be looking at all options, like I said. And this the time right now. And last but not least, James Washington. For Jordan J, like I said, Jordan Dangerfield, I'm going to say fair. Then, of course, we got James Washington, fair or foul. Hey, he's going to have a better season this year, despite dropping 15 pounds. I'm going to have to say fair for all three for today. I just feel like that was definitely one of the biggest criticisms he faced last year, was not keeping himself in enough tip-top shape, football shape, or like speed. It affected a lot his route running. That's one of the things that Ben Roethlisberger called him out on. Let's say you. Again, this is going to call an end to the Men of Steel podcast. I want to say thank you to those for everyone tuning in, viewing, liking, or taking a few moments just to go over this on this very lucrative warm Monday here. It's coming live for you here from today on June the 10th. And as always, you can follow me on Twitter at PrideRichie. You can catch me streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Facebook at Men of Steel Nation, Instagram Men of Steel Nation, and of course my YouTube channel Men of Steel Podcast. And as always, leave everybody. Don't be trolling. Be rolling. Here we go, Steelers. Here we go. I gone.